This is Qtv News. I am Ibrahim Balde and thanks for joining us. First, the main local and sport news headlines. We went out today to see how effective the mandatory wearing of face mask is proving to be. Thousands of youth stormed Bundung police station, alleging they have been cheated out on a betting jackpot. Gambians living in Minnesota, so they have not forgotten their homeland, with a generous donation for those in the rural area. A U.S. government agency has initiated a move to seize a luxury mansion belonging to ex-President Jammeh. We hear what the Gambian government has to say about the matter. In sports news, Musa Barrow's great and scoring streak continues as he has a wonderful weekend for Bologna. A Gambian coach who left his homeland is making quite a name for himself in Liberia. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in details. In local news, since the wearing of face masks was made mandatory by the government, our reporter Babukar C was out and about in the streets of Serekunda to observe how the public have been responding exactly 4 days since the announcement.
Everyone living in the Gambia was given 1 week to voluntarily adjust to this new system of wearing face masks, or else face being confronted by state security personnel expected to enforce the rules. It's exactly 4 days since the wearing of face masks was made mandatory, and in our first port of call takes us from Tipagaroish to Westfield. Our findings show us that the majority of the public out in the streets pay little or no attention to wearing a mask. Health experts advise people to wear face masks to prevent the transmission of the virus by covering their noses and mouths. The Gambia currently has 205 active cases, and since the outbreak in March 2020, the country has so far recorded 277 cases, of which 6 died. The government have made it clear that they cannot provide a mask for every citizen, a decision that drew criticism from some who felt government should have been in a position to supply people with a mask before enforcing such a law. The streets of Serekunda looks busy as expected, with Tobaski fast approaching. The Wanter is expected to kickstart soon, and even before that, thousands can be seen crisscrossing the streets and markets, with buyers and sellers interacting as normal when normal meant before COVID-19. The authorities have laid down a maximum fine of $1,000 for not wearing a face mask in public. The new rules, known as the Public Dangerous Infectious Disease Protection Regulation, replaces the State of Public Emergency Regulation. Under the new rules, it is an offense not to wear face masks in public. The spreading of false message on COVID-19, obstructing or attempting to obstruct health officials from quarantining a person, among other regulations. The question is, what are the law enforcers waiting for before they enforce the law, and how will some of these new regulations be monitored for compliance? Until we can properly address these questions about how we will implement the rules, questions will be asked about how serious we really are about fighting the coronavirus. Babukar C, Qtv News.
Thousands of angry young people are demanding $12,500 each from a local betting company, which they claim to have won from a sport betting jackpot organized by B-Winners. The betting company, the youth stormed Bundung police station, where the company's agent is in protective custody. Mohamed Lamin Choi reports.
They bet with dreams of winning a special jackpot as promised by B-Winners. But even when thousands of them successfully turned out to be the winners, the result is disappointment, anger and tension. For thousands of these angry youth are not only ticket holders but also winners of a $12,500 jackpot. Now, the offer of a mere $3 reward for each of those who won the jackpot is a matter of dispute between them and the betting company.
In this issue, they told us that we are not paid. That's what we received. Everybody here, almost 4,153 people won. They have to pay us $51,950,000 altogether. How can you say the whole Gambia paid only $12,500? You say $12,500 among 4,158 people. We are not even going to have $3.50, but we are going to have 0.3 bottle, which is not possible. How can you pay $25 to play a bet, and at the same time they said you are going to have $0.3 bottle? That is not possible.
after complaint from the youth turned violent, with most of them believing they are on firm ground of having hit the jackpot to receive a combined $12,500. The winners, the betting company, offered to return them their ticket fees, which they refused. It has been a long journey for some of them to win a jackpot, and this time around, these jackpot winners do not want to end up losing what they expected to win. It is a civil matter, and their plan is to pursue their claim either in or out of the courts.
Sometimes I used to go there with 12,000, 13,000, even not football alone. I used to play virtual. They have virtual games there which we used to play. You know, I used to go there with 12,000, 13,000. I go home with empty-handed. So today I win $12,500. They said they are going to pay me $3.50 budu yesterday, and today in the morning I heard that they are going to pay me $25, which is not correct.
The other side of the story paints a different picture. An agent for the betting company tells QTV that young people failed to learn the rules of the jackpot. The jackpot was organized yesterday by a sports betting company, the winners, and the agent claims that the youth do not have any grounds for complaint.
I don't think so that they have known the rules, but like they should have asked first. Like it was easy, 5 teams, and you take 12,500. There must be something behind. Common sense. You must say like, no, there must something in it. I have to figure out why. 12,500. Even if you play that ticket, normal ticket, you will not even get, if you put $1,000 on it, on those teams, you will not even get 5,000. Not talking of staking $1,025 and waiting for 12,500.
The police have now begun their investigations into the matter, taking their personal details and ticket information. It is a civil matter which is expected to be settled in the courts if the dispute remains unsolved. A supervisor for B-winners, who is said to be involved in this dispute with the youth, was rescued from their wrath and handed over to the police. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, Qtv News.
The Gambia Association in Minnesota on Monday donated 70 bags of 25-kilogram rice and 10 liters of cooking oil to the National Disaster Management Agency for delivery to the less privileged and vulnerable families in the rural Gambia. Babukar C has that story.
According to the association, the donated food items through Help Gambia is meant for the affected families in provincial Gambia by the Household Disaster Resilience Project Help Gambia. Speaking on behalf of the donors, Dauda Cham, the national coordinator of Help Gambia, said nations have been hard hit by the pandemic and many families, especially the weak ones, are struggling to put food on the table.
We've seen families going through lots of problems when it comes to food insecurity, and as well as our economies have been really affected. The government had actually done some effort to help families by giving them food packages. And the Gambian Association in Minnesota, these are Gambians who are actually based in Minnesota, have seen that it is also important that they also contribute to this effort, like that is to complement government's effort by helping families. And there are identified families in the provincial Gambia where we are going to be donating these items to.
The National Disaster Management's Director of Administration, Lamin Mas, praised the Gambian Association in Minnesota for coming up with the idea of supporting the needy.
Well, it is indeed gratifying to notice that also Gambians in the diaspora are contributing their own quota. This is what it means to become nationalistic. This is not about politics. This is about human life. And humanitarian rescue is very crucial in this moment of COVID-19. Nevertheless, I would want to say also thank you to Help Gambia, because they are the ones based in this country, connecting to the Gambians in diaspora, letting them know what is in here to be for them to contribute toward their quota towards the population, the vulnerable population in the Gambia.
The NDMA's Executive Director, Sana Dahaba, said the gesture is complementing government's effort in its quest to extend support to the vulnerable and needy families across the country.
It's not the amount that matters in any emergency, but what it represents. I think that's very, very important. the good gesture that they have demonstrated here shows that they care about the people, and then they want to put the smile on the face of the people. I think that's very, very, very important. And on behalf of the National Governing Council and through the Office of the Vice President, I want to recognize their effort, and I will make sure that I will extend this message to the Vice President for this kind gesture.
He encouraged others to emulate the Gambia Association in Minnesota in coming up with the idea of supporting their people back home. Babukar C, QTV News.
The Gambian government has welcomed the move by the U.S. Justice Department to seize ex-President Yahya Jammeh's Potomac, Maryland house. Speaking to journalists at the recent press conference, the Information Minister Ibrahim Silla said the government is keenly monitoring the situation. Babukar C tells us more.
The former Gambian President Yahya Jammeh used bribery proceeds and stolen government funds to buy a mansion in a suburb of Washington, D.C. This is what U.S. authorities allege in a lawsuit seeking to seize the property. The U.S. Justice Department said Jammeh conspired to launder roughly $3.5 million in a corruption proceeds through the purchase of a lavish home in Potomac, Maryland. Back home, the Gambia government have welcomed the move, expressing delight at the U.S. government's move to seize Jammeh's assets. Information Minister Ibrahim Silla said the move indicates that the government is not working alone and they are keenly monitoring the situation.
We have been collaborating with a number of countries around the world to help us trace properties or funds that could have been snatched out of this country, to help us identify, and if the process of verification comes out in favor of the argument that they belong to the government of the Gambia, then they can be returned back to the government of the Gambia. And as this is going to be a court matter, we keenly await the process to be concluded, but we welcome the initial move, and we hope that it can come out in favor of the litigants, which is the United States, the initiator of the process, the State Department, responsible for this type of forfeiture. And hopefully, we hope that it can be returned back to the government of the Gambia.
Jammeh acquired at least 281 properties during his time in office and operated more than 100 private bank accounts directly or through companies or foundations in which he has shares or an interest, according to the Justice Department's civil complaint. These details came to light when the Jammeh Commission published its report into the financial dealings of the ex-president. Jammeh hasn't been charged with any crimes in the U.S., but the Justice Department complaint notes that a quasi-judicial commission established by the Gambia government recommended criminal charges against the former president. The purchase of the mansion by Jammeh is seen by many as rather ironic given his alleged dislike for the West. The Jammeh Commission said Jammeh and his associates wasted or stolen the equivalent of more than $300 million from public accounts, and that Jammeh also accepted bribes and kickbacks in exchange for granting monopoly rights to businesses over sectors of the Gambian economy, the complaint says. The U.S. Treasury Department announced sanctions against Jammeh in 2017, saying he has a long history of engaging in serious human rights abuses and corruption. In previous U.S. property seizures from African despots, including some for Nigerian head of states, the U.S. government has tendered to return the proceeds from selling those assets to the legitimate government of that country. In February of this year, the U.S. government signed an agreement to return $308 million to the Nigerian government that were, to quote the official press release, that were traceable to the former Nigerian dictator Sani Abacha and his co-conspirators. Therefore, there is hope for Gambia. Babukar C, QTV News.
We'll go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, the local news continues, and we have two stories from the world of sports. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is Qtv News. Women in URR are responding positively to the food self-sufficiency drive by tilling the land. Among them, a women's organization, Barrow Sisters, who has tilled a 5-hectare bean farm in Kolibantang at Woolly West. This story by Alaji A.F. Jallo is narrated by Momodu Mboj.
Agriculture contributes at least 32% of the country's GDP and employs about 80% of our labor force. As such, this sector is very much the backbone of the economy. This farm project was initiated in support of President Barrow's plea for us as a country to grow what we eat and eat what we grow. At the farm in Kolibantang village, Woolly West, the Deputy Governor, Samba Ba, joined the women to take part in the weeding exercise. Deputy Governor Ba tells us of his delight and further explains the significance of his farming venture initiated by Barrow Sisters in URR.
I would like to thank what we call Khadijatu, definitely for her leadership, because she has been coming to the governor's office on a daily basis, trying to remind people about their farms. And then this is what we expected of people. The youth groups of these people who want development should always work with the governor's office in order to make sure that we know what they are doing and also compliment and support them in whatever they are doing. That is why today I decided on behalf of the governor to come up to Kolibantang to also participate with them, to show them that we are in it, because we are in the rainy season and this agricultural time. It's not about politics, but we need to show, because it is that, we need to show, as an example as leaders. So that is why we are here. And then the youth group of this what we call region, particularly you, Alaji and Ibu and others, definitely we need to commend you, because anytime the ladies of URR call, you are with them. So this is what we need. Is collectiveness and togetherness is what we call in the region.
With much fanfare, the women in the farm expressed themselves jubilantly. Madam Kajatu Pajalo, the initiator, thanked all those who supported the women of URR in cultivating this 5-hectare beans farm. Similar farms in 3 different communities owned by the organization were also visited.
Barrow Sisters base URR wolle nata balingo la jang kala balingo doku base URR ani ite alaji jallo fangito mu ciamano leti Barrow Sister base kono ni aje mbenyim bondila nko musole muri duo ko la kunkoto kabringa nyim kunko boni nga ken sabale bondi akilim bondi Kolibantang jang nata kilim bondi Samba Gabude nata kanam kilim fanam bondi limbambulu balingo nyi ngamen bondi ten ala nata ke balingo bete atale.
Nima Jallo, the chairperson of Barrow Sisters in URR, calls on young women to take up agriculture as a job, stating that it is the surest way to curb unemployment.
Ko wata halande sukabe ben ko men immo, because ay dundo ko golle labade ni say men iwi gila basse men ngari ha Kolibantang ko men hebani ko men rema ko men halanta jibe wono an sukabe rewbe URR basen nabe ko be immo be wakilo be wawa remude be wawa ruttade back to the land.
A.F. Jallo, he is also a Qtv reporter, doubles as the regional advisor for these women, and he also calls for more support. In order to achieve these targets to make the Gambia sustainable in food self-sufficiency, farmers need to benefit directly from the budget allocation and donors to tilt the arable land available for agricultural activity. For Qtv News, I am Momodu Mboj.
And now, here is the sports news. Gambian forward Musa Barrow has moved into double figures for goals involvement since his loan spell with Bologna. The story by Alaji Amacham is narrated by Momodu Mboj.
Musa Barrow continued his goal-scoring form after netting the winner in a 3-2 win over Lecce on Sunday and provided assists for his sides of the 2 goals as well. The men in red and blue raced into a 2-0 lead inside the opening 5 minutes through striker Rodrigo Palacio and Roberto Soriano. Barrow assisted in both goals, the first after holding off a Lecce player before releasing the ball for Palacio to tuck home from close range, and then provided a fine pass to Soriano on the left flank moments later, which he blasted home from 25 yards. Lecce pulled one back just before half-time via Marco before Filippo Falco equalized for the visitors in the 66th minute. Just when it seemed a draw was going to be the likely result, Barrow came up with the winning goal in stoppage time. The 21-year-old started a counter-attack with Federico Santander making a run from the centre circle into the penalty box free of any opposition players. His initial effort was, however, palmed away by the Lecce goalkeeper. The rebound fell to Ricardo and he passed the ball to Barrow, who rifled in a volley. For QTV News, I am Mamadou Mbodj.
A Gambian football coach is making waves and making a name for himself in another West African country. The story by Alaji Ahmad Cham is narrated by Mamadou Mbodj.
After 4 FA Cups, 3 Super Cups and a league championship, Tafa Mane left the Gambia to Liberia to rebuild Liberian International Shipping and Corporate Registry Football Club, commonly abbreviated to LISCR Football Club, ahead of the 2016-2017 season. When the team's management opted to bring Mane in from the Gambia, he only held a B-level coaching license from the Confederation of African Football. The Shipping Boys, as they are popularly referred to, offered the Gambian coach a 3-year deal running 2016 to 2019, not knowing how things would turn out. The move to bring in Tafa Mane was not welcomed in most quarters of Liberian football, and it certainly caused quite a bit of controversy. Some Liberian fans felt it was disrespectful of the team to bring in a foreign coach over qualified Liberian coaches who had A-level licenses, while others thought the hiring of a foreign coach was the right move. They were hoping for a coach with higher coaching qualifications and experience than what Liberian coaches had. In spite of all the doubts about his appointment, Tafa was in a position to once again make the shipping team a competitive team again and won 7 trophies in his time at the helm. During his first season, the team went the entire league season without losing a game and won the league and cup double. The team, which was founded in 1995, won their first league title in 2010-2011 season and retained it the following year. That was it in terms of honours until Tafa Mane's arrival. After 4 seasons and 7 trophies, Tafa has now been shortlisted for 2 of the coaching roles with Liberia's junior national teams at under 17 and under 20 levels and is seen as one of the strong favourites for the position given his success at club level. With the former footballer as the country's president, there's likely to be interest in the appointment from the highest elected official. For QTV News, I am Mamadou Mbodj.
Before we end these bulletins, let's take a quick look at our main stories. We went out today to see how effective the mandatory wearing of face mask is proving to be. Thousands of youths stormed Bundum police station alleging they have been cheated out of a betting jackpot. Gambians living in Minnesota, so they have not forgotten their home with a generous donation for those in rural areas. In sports news, Musa Barrow's great and scoring streak continues as he had a wonderful weekend for Bologna. A Gambian football coach who left his homeland is making quite a name for himself in Liberia. That's all we have for you in this bulletin. Join us tomorrow for another bulletin, and thanks for watching.